They say the courtroom is where truth meets power. But what happens when power laughs before truth even gets a chance to speak? This is the story of David Cole, a young black lawyer who walked into that courtroom with more courage than anyone expected and walked out having changed everything. The morning sun glared off the courthouse steps, that kind of bright light that makes you squint and question if you're ready for what's ahead. David adjusted his cheap tie in the reflection of the glass doors and took a deep breath. It was his first major case, a civil lawsuit against Whitmore and Crosswell Industries, one of the most powerful corporations in the city, a company known for exploiting black neighborhoods, then hiding behind billion-dollar lawyers. The man representing them today, Richard Hale, a legend in the legal world. Silver hair, custom suit, confidence that filled the room before he even walked in. And when Richard saw David, he laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not even a polite one, a deep, condescending chuckle. "Wait," Richard said, smirking to his assistant. "He's the opposing counsel?" The courtroom went quiet. David didn't flinch. He just picked up his briefcase, nodded once, and said, "We'll see who's laughing when it's over." The case was simple on paper, but heavy in truth. Whitmore and Crosswell had been dumping toxic waste near a predominantly black neighborhood, killing gardens, poisoning water, and causing illnesses. David represented a group of residents, mostly elders and single parents, who had been ignored for years. When the trial began, Richard Hale dominated the courtroom. His voice was smooth, his gestures perfect. He strutted around like he owned the floor, every word dripping with confidence and disdain. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the jury, "this case is a misunderstanding, a distraction from real issues. My client has done nothing wrong." Then he turned, looked right at David, and added with a smirk, "Some people just see racism everywhere they go." The room murmured. David felt his jaw tighten, but he said nothing. He knew this was part of Richard's strategy, make the black lawyer lose his cool. But David had learned long ago, growing up on the South Side, watching his mom get evicted while the landlord smiled, that silence could be louder than rage. So he let Richard talk. And when it was his turn, David walked slowly to the center of the courtroom. His voice wasn't booming like Richard's. It was calm, controlled. "Your Honor," he said, "before we talk about law, we need to talk about lives." Then he turned toward the jury. He told them about a grandmother who couldn't let her grandkids play outside because of the stench in the air, a teenage boy who started coughing up blood, a church that had to close its doors because the water turned black. And when he showed the photos, the real, raw images of the damage, the courtroom fell silent. For a moment, even Richard Hale's smirk faded. Over the next few days, Richard tried everything. He objected constantly. He mocked David's questions. He whispered jokes loud enough for the jury to hear. At one point, during recess, he even leaned close and said, "Listen, son, this isn't charity. If you want to make a real career, walk away from this nonsense." David stared at him. "Funny," he said quietly. "That's exactly what my father's boss told him before firing him for being black." Richard blinked. For the first time, he had no comeback. But the real shift came on the third day of trial, when David called a surprise witness. Everyone in the room turned as the door opened. A man in a gray suit walked in, calm and confident. "State your name for the record." David said, "Dr. Kenneth Roberts." The man replied. The jury perked up. They knew that name, the city's top environmental scientist. Richard's smile returned. "Dr. Roberts works for us," he said proudly. "He's the one who cleared our reports." David nodded. "Yes, he did work for you, but not anymore." Richard's face fell. David turned back to the jury. "Dr. Roberts has something to show you, the real report, the one your company buried." The courtroom buzzed. David handed over a folder. Inside were internal memos and test results proving Whitmore and Crosswell had known about the contamination for years. They'd even paid off local inspectors to stay quiet. Richard jumped up. "Objection. This is..." "Overruled," the judge said sharply. David looked straight at Richard. "You laughed when I walked in here," he said. "But you're not laughing now, are you?" By the fourth day, the jury's mood had changed. David could feel it. Every word Richard said now sounded defensive, desperate. When David gave his closing argument, he didn't use fancy legal jargon. He talked about truth, about accountability, about the difference between power and justice. Then he said something that made everyone sit up. I didn't grow up dreaming of suing corporations. I grew up dreaming of clean water, of a world where my mom didn't have to boil it before giving it to me. This case isn't about winning. It's about not being silent anymore. The jury listened like their hearts were on trial too. And then, just before deliberation, the judge spoke. Her voice was calm, but her words cut through the tension. "Mr. Hale," she said, looking over her glasses, "I've listened to both sides carefully, but there's something I think you should know." Richard straightened his tie. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge leaned forward. "David Cole isn't just any lawyer. He's the son of Marcus Cole, the man who once saved my brother's life when your company refused to pay for his treatment." The courtroom froze. Richard blinked. I didn't know." "No," the judge said, eyes narrowing. "You didn't, because you never care to look beyond what you see." She paused, then looked at David. "Mr. Cole, I know your father will be proud today." David's eyes glistened, and for the first time, the courtroom applauded. When the jury returned, everyone held their breath. David's clients, mothers, elders, kids, gripped each other's hands. The foreman stood. "We, the jury, find in favor of the plaintiffs." Gasps, cries, cheers. David's knees almost gave out. The court awarded the community $48 million in damages and ordered a full environmental cleanup. Richard Hale sat there in disbelief, hands trembling. For a man who'd built a career on dominance, this defeat cut deep. He looked up at David, who was now surrounded by the people he fought for, the same people Richard once called statistics. And in that moment, Richard saw what real power looked like. Not money, not suits, not titles. Truth. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed David. Microphones, flashing cameras, endless questions. How does it feel to win? What's next for you? David smiled humbly. This isn't about winning. It's about being heard. He looked at the camera and added, "For everyone who's ever been laughed at, underestimated, or told they don't belong, this was for you." The crowd erupted. But in the distance, near the courthouse steps, Richard Hale watched quietly. His assistant approached. "Sir, should we appeal?" Richard didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on David, shaking hands with his clients. Then he whispered, "No, he's already won more than a verdict." He turned and walked away, humbled, haunted, and for the first time in years, silent. That night, David sat alone in his small apartment, still in disbelief. He pulled out a photo of his late father, Marcus Cole, and placed it on the desk beside the verdict papers. "Wish you could have seen it, Dad," he murmured. Then a knock at the door. He opened it. A young woman stood there, holding a manila envelope. "Are you David Cole?" she asked. "Yes." She handed it to him. "Someone wanted you to have this." He frowned. "Who?" But when he looked up, she was already walking away. Inside the envelope was a single document, a letter. It was on Whitmore and Croswell letterhead, dated 2 years before the trial, and signed by Marcus Cole. David's hands shook as he unfolded it. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it out clean. There's more to this company than what you'll find in court. Someone on the inside helped me before I was forced to disappear. Follow the name at the bottom. They'll lead you to the truth." At the bottom was a name, written in pen. Judge M. Andrews. David's eyes widened. The same judge who just ruled in his favor. He reread the note, heart racing. Did his father mean she helped him, or helped the company hide the truth? He looked out the window. A black sedan was parked across the street. Headlights flickered once, then off. And for the first time since the trial began, David felt something new. Fear. David folded the letter and stared into the night. He had won justice in court. But now, he wondered if he had only uncovered the first layer of a much bigger cover-up. He reached for his phone and dialed the one person he trusted. "Karen," he said softly, "we need to talk. My dad's story isn't over." Lightning flashed outside the window. The sound of tires screeched down the street, and somewhere in the dark, a voice whispered, "You should have stopped while you still could." They thought it was over. They thought they'd buried the truth under paperwork and power. But when the judge leaned forward and said, "Mr. Cole, I know exactly who you are," the entire courtroom went silent. Even the air stopped moving. The arrogant defense attorney, the one who mocked Darius for daring to represent himself, froze mid-smirk, because that single sentence just flipped the entire case on its head. And what came next nobody could have predicted. "Your Honor," the defense attorney stammered. I don't understand." But the judge wasn't looking at him. Her eyes were locked on Darius, calm, quiet, standing in his worn-out suit. "Mr. Cole," she said softly, "you're Marcus Cole's son, aren't you?" You could hear the shock ripple through the courtroom. Marcus Cole, a name that still carried weight in every courthouse across the state. A man who once took on the system and nearly broke it in half, until he was set up and disbarred. And this was his son. Beat, voice slows, dramatic. The son of the man they destroyed, now standing in the same courtroom, fighting the same system. The arrogant attorney tried to recover. "Well, that's irrelevant, Your Honor. This case is about the city contract, not his family drama." But the judge raised a hand. "Sit down, counselor." He hesitated. She didn't repeat herself. And when he finally sat, you could feel the shift, like the room itself had chosen sides. Darius took a breath. "Your Honor," he said quietly, "my father taught me one thing before they took his license. Truth doesn't need permission to exist." He pulled a folder from his bag, thin, almost empty, but inside it was the missing link. Emails between the opposing counsel and the city official they swore they didn't know, leaked by a whistleblower, and verified. Every signature, every transaction. Proof that the contract Darius's client was denied had been sold under the table for bribes. And the lawyer who laughed at Darius was right in the middle of it. The defense attorney lunged from his seat. "This is absurd. You can't just..." But the judge slammed the gavel. "Counselor, if you speak out of turn again, you'll be held in contempt." He froze, trembling, because he knew what came next. The judge looked at the clerk. "Enter these documents into evidence immediately." You could feel justice shifting in real time. That rare, electric moment when truth cuts through lies like lightning. But just when it seemed the case was sealed, something changed. Beat, quieter, eerie tone. The judge's face went pale. Her eyes flicked to one of the emails, and something inside her cracked. She whispered, barely audible, "No, this can't be right." Because there, at the bottom of the message thread, was her own name. The courtroom erupted. Gasps, murmurs. Even Darius looked stunned. The judge staggered to her feet, eyes wide. I never sent this," she said. "Someone forged my approval." But the opposing lawyer smiled now, broken, desperate, but smug. "Seems corruption runs higher than we thought, Your Honor." The bailiff stepped forward. The judge steadied herself. "Mr. Cole, please approach the bench." He walked up slowly, unsure what was happening. She leaned in. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They used me," she said. "They used all of us." Then she handed him something, a small USB drive. "Find what's on this. It'll tell you where your father's case really ended." Beat, ominous pause. Because I don't think he lost by accident. That night, Darius sat alone in his small apartment. The city lights flickered through the blinds. He plugged in the drive. At first, nothing, just old court files. Then a hidden folder appeared. "Do not open." He clicked it. Inside, recordings, wiretaps, conversations between top city officials, prosecutors, even judges, talking about how Marcus Cole was framed to protect $1 million contract scheme. And the name at the center of it all? The same lawyer who mocked Darius in court. His father's downfall was his son's opponent. Beat, low, cinematic tone. The irony cut like a blade. But the last file stopped Darius cold. A photo of his father. Not in prison, not in disgrace, but sitting in a diner, taken just a year ago, alive. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't think. If that photo was real, everything changed. Darius took the drive to the judge's chambers the next morning. But when he arrived, the room was empty. Papers everywhere. Chair overturned. She was gone. And on her desk, a note. Trust no one. They found out. Before he could react, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meet me where your father used to take you after school. Alone. Beat. Suspense build. He knew exactly where that was. The old diner off 12th and Willow. Rain pounded the pavement. Darius stepped inside the diner, soaked, heart racing. It was empty, except for one man sitting in the back booth. Face shadowed, head up. He looked up slowly, eyes tired, voice gravelly. You finally found me, son. Darius froze. It was him, his father, Marcus Cole, the man who'd vanished after being disbarred, the man everyone said was dead. Darius's throat closed. Dad, they said you... I know, Marcus interrupted. That's what they wanted. Beat emotional slow. They took everything from us, Darius. But they made one mistake. They left a trail. He slid a small envelope across the table. Inside this is the name of the man who started it all. But before Darius could open it, the diner windows shattered. Bullets ripped through the air. Marcus grabbed Darius, pulling him to the floor. Go, he shouted. Run. Sirens wailed outside. A black SUV screeched to a halt. Men in suits poured out, shouting, Get them! Darius crawled toward the back exit. But when he turned around, his father was gone. Smoke, blood, silence. He stumbled out into the alley, clutching the envelope, tears mixed with rain. He opened it, hands trembling. Inside, just one name, H. Caldwell. The mayor. Beat. Low voice, narrator tone. And just like that, Darius realized his father's war was about to become his own. By morning, the news was everywhere. City judge missing after corruption hearing. Whistleblower lawyer evades attempted arrest. Unconfirmed reports of shootout downtown. Darius was on the run. But the envelope wasn't just a clue, it was a key. Inside the folded paper was a second flash drive, hidden in the seam. When he plugged it in at a library computer, the screen flickered with encrypted files. Then a message appeared. To whoever finds this, if I don't make it, the truth must survive. Project Atlas wasn't a case. It was a cover-up. Darius stared at the folder, labeled Atlas_files. He double-clicked. Hundreds of scanned documents. Contracts. Money transfers. Political donations. Every thread led back to one office. The mayor's. Beat, rising tone. And attached at the bottom of the last file was a signed authorization for payment. From H. Caldwell to M. Cole, his father's name. Darius's heart dropped. Why would his father's name be on the same documents he was trying to expose? Had Marcus been working with him all along? Before he could make sense of it, his phone buzzed again. Another text. Stop digging, or you'll end up like her. Attached, a photo. The missing judge. Bound. Alive. Beat. Tense whisper. That's when Darius realized this wasn't just a legal war anymore. It was survival. Darius packed the drives, grabbed the folder, and ran. He knew they were watching him now. From traffic cameras, from phones, from every shadow. He made it to the edge of the river. The same river where his father's car was found years ago. He dropped to his knees, clutching the drives. He could end this. He could upload everything right here, right now. But then, a voice behind him. Don't do it. He turned. Standing there, half soaked from the rain, was his father, alive and armed. Dad. Darius whispered. What's going on? Marcus's eyes were cold now. You weren't supposed to find this. They needed a scapegoat. And you, he said, raising the gun slightly, you were perfect. Beat. Slow, chilling pause. The camera zooms in on Darius's face. Shock, betrayal, fear colliding. The wind howls. Rain hits like static. Then darkness. Last time, Darius stood in the courtroom, his entire career hanging by a thread. He had just revealed a document that could destroy everything. The proof that his father, long thought dead, was alive. And not just alive, but part of the very system that destroyed their family. But what Darius didn't know was that this revelation was only the beginning, because the next 24 hours would turn his life into a living nightmare. The gavel hit once. Bang. The courtroom froze. Judge Owens leaned forward. Her tone was calm. Too calm. Mr. Cole approached the bench. Darius's palms were sweating. His ears were ringing. He could feel every eye in that courtroom burning into him. He stepped forward slowly, sliding the confidential document toward her. "This file," he said, voice trembling but firm, "proves that the prosecution's lead witness, my father, isn't dead. He's in federal protection under a fake identity." Gasps rippled through the room. Cameras flashed. Even the arrogant senior lawyer, Richard Holloway, the same man who'd laughed at Darius in part one, suddenly wasn't smiling anymore. Judge Owens looked at him sharply. "Mr. Holloway, were you aware of this?" Last time the world froze. Because the man everyone thought was dead, the man Darius built his entire life seeking justice for, had just walked into the courtroom. Marcus Cole, his father, alive, and standing beside the same corrupt lawyer who tried to destroy him. The gasps were deafening. Reporters surged forward. And for the first time in years, Darius felt his knees weaken. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a resurrection with a purpose. Judge Owens slammed her gavel. "Order." I said order in this court. But no one could look away from Marcus. He was older now, grayer, but the fire in his eyes was the same. Only now it burned colder. He stepped forward, ignoring the bailiffs closing in. "Your Honor," he said, voice deep, confident, too confident. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding. My son seems to think he's uncovered corruption, but what he doesn't know is that he's been used." The courtroom erupted again. Used? Darius felt the blood drain from his face. "What are you talking about?" Marcus turned to him slowly. "Who do you think leaked those documents to you, son?" Last time, the courtroom stood in chaos. Because Marcus Cole, Darius's father, once thought to be the victim, revealed he was the one who leaked the corruption files. But that wasn't the twist. The twist was why. Marcus's voice cut through the noise. "You think I wanted to hurt you, son?" he said, stepping closer. "I wanted to protect you." Darius's eyes blazed. "By setting me up in front of the whole country?" Marcus shook his head. "By showing you the truth. That justice isn't won in courtrooms. It's bought, sold, and buried." The crowd murmured. Judge Owens's gavel slammed. "That's enough, Mr. Cole." But Marcus didn't stop. He looked straight at her. "Tell him, Your Honor, tell my son how long you've been part of this." The room went still. Darius blinked. "What?" Judge Owens's hand trembled on the gavel. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Marcus smiled bitterly. "You didn't think she helped you out of kindness, did you?" "She owed me. I saved her career years ago, the same way I built mine, through favors, silence, and blood." Judge Owens finally spoke. "Bailiff, remove him from this courtroom immediately." But Marcus slammed a folder on the bench. Inside, photos. Old, grainy surveillance images. Owens, Marcus, and Richard Holloway, the senior lawyer who mocked Darius in part one. 3 of them, years younger, smiling outside a high-rise office. Darius's jaw tightened. "What is this?" Marcus turned to the cameras. "This, my son, is your real case. The one you never filed, because you didn't know it existed." Owen stood up, furious. "You're destroying your son's career." "No," Marcus said, his voice cracking just slightly. "I'm freeing him from it." Marcus stepped closer to the podium. "You see, Darius, the system we built wasn't designed to serve justice. It was designed to control who gets justice." He turned to the gallery, reporters scribbling, cameras rolling. Every case, every headline, every, when was planned before the trial even began. The black lawyers they let rise? They weren't threats. They were ornaments, symbols to make it all look fair. Darius's chest tightened. And you helped them? Marcus's eyes filled with something, guilt or pride. Maybe both. I didn't start it, but when they offered me a seat at the table, I took it, because I thought I could change things from the inside. He sighed. But the truth is, the table was already rotten. The courtroom was dead silent now. Owens looked like she might collapse. And Richard Holloway, the once cocky lawyer, sat pale and sweating, whispering to his assistant. Darius whispered, "Why are you telling me this now?" Marcus looked at him, voice breaking. "Because they're about to erase you, son, just like they erased me." Suddenly, the courtroom lights flickered. A loud buzz, then darkness. Screams echoed. Phones flashed. Security guards rushed in shouting. When the lights came back on, Marcus was gone. So was the folder. Judge Owens gripped the bench, trembling. Court adjourned now. Darius stumbled toward the aisle, shouting for his father. But in the chaos, a man in a gray suit brushed past him and slipped a note into his hand. For words, scrawled in red ink, "Meet me where it began." That night, Darius drove out to the old East Ridge courthouse, condemned, boarded up, the place where his father once tried his first case. The wind howled through shattered windows. The faint echo of his footsteps was the only sound. He held his flashlight up, and there, sitting in the judge's chair, was Marcus. "Dad," Darius said, panting, "you can't just disappear mid-trial." Marcus cut him off. "They'll bury everything tomorrow. The files, the footage, even your name. You need to listen to me carefully." He slid a small drive across the desk. "This is everything they tried to destroy. Proof of every rigged trial, every payoff. But it's encrypted, and there's only one key." Darius frowned. "Whose key?" Marcus looked up, eyes hollow. "The judge's." Before Darius could respond, Marcus pulled out an old recorder and hit play. A distorted voice filled the room. "Holloway, we can't let the kid win. If his motion passes, Owens goes down with him." Unknown voice. "Then we silence the motion or we silence him." Holloway and Marcus. Unknown voice. "He's already compromised." The recording stopped. Darius froze. "Dad, what did they mean? Compromised?" Marcus looked away. "I made a deal to protect you, Darius. You were supposed to lose that case in part 1. That was the deal. They'd clear your bar record and I'd stay hidden. But you went off script." Tears filled Darius's eyes. "You let them use me?" Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. "I saved you." The sound echoed through the empty hall like a gunshot. Then headlights. Through the cracks of the old courthouse doors, Darius saw cars pulling up, black SUVs. Dozens of them. Marcus's eyes widened. "They found us." The doors burst open. Men in tactical gear flooded the room. "FBI, hands up." Darius froze. Marcus didn't move. One of the agents stepped forward, badge flashing, but something fell off. No insignia. No name tags. These weren't FBI. Marcus whispered. "They're not law enforcement. They're cleanup." Gunfire erupted. Marcus tackled Darius behind the desk. Wood splintered. Dust filled the air. Marcus shoved a flash drive into Darius's pocket. "Run." "But..." "Go." Darius bolted through a side door, sprinting down the dark hallway. He heard his father shouting, then a deafening crash. He didn't look back. He dove through a broken window, landing in the mud outside. Behind him, the courthouse went up in flames. Hours later, Darius sat alone in a cheap motel, drenched in sweat, staring at the drive in his hand. Every channel was already spinning the story. Disgraced attorney involved in courthouse fire. Marcus Cole confirmed dead after explosion. Dead again. Only this time, Darius wasn't sure if it was true. He opened his laptop, inserted the drive, and a single file appeared, titled "The Real Verdict." He clicked play. The video opened on Judge Owens' chambers. Hidden camera footage. She was on the phone. "Owens, it's done." Both of them will be gone by morning. The leak dies with them. Then her eyes shifted straight to the hidden camera. She smiled and whispered, "Unless it's already been recorded." The screen glitched. Static, then black. There was a knock at the motel door. Darius froze. He checked the peephole. No one there. He opened the door cautiously and found a small envelope on the ground. Inside, a single photo. It showed him and his father at the old courthouse that night. But the angle was from above. A drone. On the back, a message. "Your father isn't dead yet, but if you want to find him, you'll have to finish what he started." Darius's hands trembled. He flipped the photo over again, and this time noticed something in the corner. A faint reflection in the glass. A symbol. The same insignia from his father's ring. He sat there for hours, staring at the flickering motel lamp, the weight of it all pressing down. His father's betrayal, the judge's corruption, the lies that built his career. Finally, he picked up his phone, opened his camera. "Record. If you're watching this," he began, "then you already know the system's broken. They say the truth will set you free. But in this country, truth can get you buried. I don't know who's next, but I'm not running anymore." He uploaded the video. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Hashtag the real verdict trending across every platform. But just as the view count started to explode, the motel power cut out. The laptop screen flickered. A single new file appeared, one he didn't upload, titled verdict_execution. He opened it and froze, because the first frame was him, sitting in that same room. The timestamp, tomorrow, 6:13 a.m. They say history repeats itself. But for Darius Cole, it wasn't history. It was a setup already written before he even walked into that courtroom. And as the camera zoomed in on his terrified face, one thing became clear. The case wasn't over. It had only just begun. Because sometimes the verdict comes after the trial. Last time, Darius thought the worst was over. He had the flash drive, the truth, the evidence that could bring down the entire system. But then his screen flickered, and a new file appeared. Verdict_execution.mp4. Timestamp, tomorrow, 6:13 a.m. And the first frame was him, sitting in the same room, alive, but not for long. Darius's pulse thundered. He slammed the laptop shut, but the sound kept playing. A voice echoed through the speakers, distorted and calm. "You can't stop what's already been recorded." He yanked the plug from the wall. Nothing. The laptop stayed on, screen glowing faint blue. Static washed over the image, and then his own face appeared again. This time, future Darius was bound to a chair, bruised, blood on his shirt. He looked straight into the camera. "If you're watching this, it means they found me." Darius's breath caught. What is this? Who's doing this? He scanned the room, eyes darting to the corners. Nothing but peeling motel wallpaper and the low hum of the vending machine outside. Then the video glitched. A frame flashed. Coordinates. Latitude. Longitude. He copied them down, whispering, "Okay, let's see where you're leading me." He entered them into Google Maps. The pin dropped on a location just outside the city. Riverside Storage, Lot 27. By midnight, Darius was there. The air smelled like oil and rust. Every step echoed through the empty yard. Lot 27 stood half collapsed. Graffiti scrawled across its door. "Truth isn't free." He slipped inside, flashlight trembling. Stacks of old case files lined the walls. Boxes labeled with names he recognized. Clients, judges, even his father. And then something else. A single desk in the middle of the room. On it, a phone. Ringing. He picked it up. A voice whispered, calm, familiar. "You shouldn't have come, Darius." He froze. "Dad." "They're watching. Every second you hesitate, they get closer." Darius's throat tightened. "Where are you?" "That doesn't matter now. What matters is what you have. The flash drive, it's not just evidence. It's the fail-safe, but you can't unlock it alone." "Then who can?" "You already know." The line went dead, and from somewhere in the dark, A door creaked open. Footsteps. Slow. Controlled. He turned. Flashlight beam catching a silhouette. Judge Owens. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes wild, her voice shaking but hard. "I told him to leave you alone," she hissed, "but you couldn't stop digging." Darius raised the flashlight like a weapon. "You set me up." "I tried to save you." She stepped closer. "You think I don't know what they're capable of? The Bureau doesn't control this anymore, Darius. The people behind it, they control everything." Darius laughed bitterly. "You mean the same people you work for?" Owens hesitated. Then she pulled something from her coat, a USB key. "The decryption key," she said quietly. "Marcus gave it to me years ago, in case he didn't make it out." Darius stared. "You expect me to trust you? I expect you to survive." They plugged both devices into an old desktop computer sitting in the corner. A progress bar blinked. "Decrypting 25%. Owens stood by the window, watching the lot. "Once this finishes, you'll see everything. Who funded the network? Which judges? Which politicians? It's all in there." Darius shook his head. "If that's true, then why help me now?" She didn't turn around. "Because my name's in there too." He looked up sharply. "What?" Owens exhaled, voice breaking. "I was part of the cover-up after your father's first trial. They offered me a judgeship if I disbarred him quietly. I took it. I told myself it was just politics. But it was blood money, Darius. It was blood." The progress bar reached 80%, and then it froze. Screen flashed red. Unauthorized access detected. Owens's face drained to color. "They've found us." The warehouse lights exploded in brightness. Dozens of red laser dots danced across the walls. Hands where I could see them. Armed men stormed in, the same black suit team from the courthouse fire. Darius threw himself behind a file cabinet. Owens shouted, "He's got the drive. Don't shoot." A shot rang out. Owens fell. Darius grabbed the laptop and bolted through a side door, sprinting into the rain. Bullets tore through the metal siding behind him. He dove over a fence, crawled into the weeds. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not police. Private. Silent. He crawled out to the highway, flagged down a trucker. "Drive," he gasped. "Anywhere but here." An hour later, he sat in the back of the truck's cab, laptop open. The decryption had finished during the chaos. Inside the folder, hundreds of documents, bank statements, video files. He clicked one. It was a video feed from a corporate meeting room. The banner read, "Verdict Systems Annual Summit." At the head of the table, Richard Halloway. He was speaking to a crowd of executives. The new predictive trial system will ensure outcome control within 3 fiscal quarters. Sentencing aligned with investor strategy. A woman in the audience raised her hand. And public oversight? Handled. The coal leak was neutralized. The camera panned. And there she was, Judge Owens, alive. Darius paused the video, stunned. Her fall in the warehouse, the blood, had all been staged. He zoomed in on the date of the video. It was time-stamped 2 hours ago, meaning while he was running for his life, she was back in their headquarters, still working for them. Rage boiled in his chest. He slammed his fist against the seat. They used me again. But then he noticed something else on the video. A man entering the frame. Older, tired, but unmistakable. Marcus Cole, his father, alive. Darius leaned forward as the video played. Marcus stood at the podium beside Halloway, dressed in a tailored suit. "Phase 3 begins tomorrow," Marcus said calmly. "The leak operation succeeded. The public believes I'm dead. Owens will handle containment. Cole Jr. will play his part." The crowd applauded. Darius's vision blurred. He could barely breathe. His father hadn't betrayed the system. He was the system. Every fight, every speech, every act of rebellion had been scripted. He wasn't exposing corruption. He was its marketing campaign. He shut the laptop, shaking. No, this isn't real." The trucker glanced back. "You okay back there, man?" But before Darius could answer, headlights filled the rearview mirror. SUVs again. Drive faster. The trucker floored it, tires screaming. Bullets shattered the back window. Darius ducked, clutching the laptop. A bullet grazed his arm. Pain shot through him. He grabbed the wheel. Take the next exit. The truck swerved off the road, smashing through a guardrail and into a muddy ditch. Darius crawled out, clutching the flash drive. Behind him, the truck was burning, but the SUVs didn't stop. They surrounded him. Doors opened, and out stepped Marcus Cole. Rain poured down as they faced each other. Darius's voice trembled. "I saw the video, Dad." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then you know why this has to happen." "Why what? My execution?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "If they don't kill you, they'll come for everyone who's ever helped you. This isn't personal anymore. It's containment." Darius took a step closer, defiant. "You built this machine. You turned justice into business. But you forgot something. Machines break." Marcus's face softened. "You sound just like your mother." That stopped Darius cold. "You don't get to say her name." Marcus looked down. "She was the first leak. You know, she tried to expose us before you were even born. That's why she died." The words hit like thunder. "She didn't have a car accident," Marcus whispered. "She was silenced, and I signed the order." Darius staggered back. "You killed her?" Marcus's voice cracked. "I thought I was protecting you. They said if I didn't comply, they'd kill you both. I chose wrong, Darius. I've been choosing wrong ever since." He pulled something from his coat, a small device. "The drive you have isn't complete. There's a second part, a live server hidden in their system. If you upload that, the world sees everything. But it'll trigger the kill protocol." Darius frowned. "Kill protocol?" Marcus met his eyes. "They'll detonate every node. Every person tied to the network, me included." Darius looked down at the flash drive, then back at his father. "So either I expose the system and lose you, or keep you alive and let them win." Marcus nodded. "That's the choice they designed." A helicopter roared overhead, spotlights sweeping the field. Marcus handed him a card with an address. "If you want to end it, go here. There's someone waiting for you. Someone who can finish what we started." He turned to leave. "Dad, wait." Marcus stopped. "Whatever you do, son, don't trust anyone wearing a badge. Not even the ones who look like you." Then gunfire erupted from the ridge. Marcus shoved Darius behind a truck. A bullet tore through Marcus's side. He fell gasping. Darius screamed, "No!" Marcus grabbed his hand, pressed a bloodstained card into his palm, then whispered 6:13 a.m. His eyes went still. Darius crawled away, clutching the card in the drive. The helicopter's searchlight swept past as men shouted in the distance. He collapsed inside an abandoned diner, drenched, shaking. Looked down at the card. An address, a date, a time, 6:13 a.m. The same time from the verdict_execution video. He turned on the laptop one last time. The corrupted video started again. Only this time, the image continued past where it had frozen. Future Darius, tied to the chair, bleeding, whispered something new. "If you find this, it means you made the same choice I did. Don't upload it. The truth isn't ready yet. You're not ready yet." Then, a voice off camera answered. A shadow stepped into the frame. Marcus Cole, alive, looking straight into the camera. And that's why he had to go. The feed cut out. Darius's face went pale. The rain outside stopped. The diner lights flickered. Then, the same distorted voice from the first video whispered to the laptop speakers. 6:13 a.m. That's not your death time, Darius. It's your appointment. The screen glitched. A new countdown began. 05:59:47. 05:59:46. And behind him, the diner's door creaked open. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Two figures in suits. One male, one female, both wearing the same insignia from his father's ring. The woman smiled faintly. "Mr. Cole, it's time to meet your client." The man closed the door, locked it. The clock on the screen ticked down to 5 hours and 59 minutes. And that's when Darius finally realized this wasn't about justice anymore. It was about control. And someone, somewhere, was rewriting the verdict again. Darius Cole thought he'd seen everything. His father, alive. His mother's death, no accident. And that ticking countdown on his laptop screen, marking the hour he was supposed to die. But then the diner door creaked open, and two strangers stepped in, both wearing the same insignia from his father's ring. "Mr. Cole," the woman said softly, "it's time to meet your client." And that was the moment Darius realized. This wasn't a trial anymore. It was a transaction. The man motioned for him to stand. "Your father prepared you well," he said. "Even in death, he served the system." Darius's fists clenched. "I don't serve anyone." The woman smiled faintly. "Not yet." They handed him a folder, inside a legal contract. But it wasn't for him to sign. It was for him to represent. Client name, Marcus Reed Cole. Status, deceased, pending appeal. His father had filed a case from beyond the grave, a case against him. Darius flipped through the pages. It detailed every move he'd made, every file, every leak, every person who'd helped him, each labeled as evidence of insubordination. He looked up. "This is insane." The man stepped closer. "The system your father built runs on one rule. No truth goes unpunished." Darius's voice shook. "So what happens now?" "You finish what he started, or we finish you." Outside, thunder cracked. The countdown on his laptop hit 5 hours and 45 minutes. They led him to a black SUV parked behind the diner. The windows were tinted so dark, it swallowed the night. He climbed in. Inside, another surprise. Judge Owens, alive, calm, dressed in black. "Darius," she said softly, "I told you not to trust anyone wearing a badge." He stared. "You lied to me." "I saved you," she countered. "Your father was right. You're the key to ending all of this, but not the way you think." She slid him a new flash drive. "This is a real verdict file. The one your father never decrypted." He hesitated. "Why give it to me now?" "Because someone has to decide what truth is worth dying for." The SUV pulled up to a courthouse, empty except for flickering lights. They led him to courtroom 9. On the bench sat a single laptop, streaming a live feed. Marcus Cole appeared on the screen, alive, breathing, somewhere underground. "Son," Marcus began, "you've reached the verdict phase. You lied to me." Darius shouted. Marcus's voice stayed calm. "No, I tested you. I needed to know if you chase truth for power or for justice. The difference determines who survives the system." Darius's fists trembled. "You call this justice?" Marcus looked down. "Justice doesn't exist, Darius. Only leverage." Owens turned to Darius. "You wanted truth? Here it is." She hit a key on the laptop. Dozens of files appeared, recordings, transactions, evidence, each labeled verdict contract. And one name appeared at the top. Darius Cole, ESQ, successor agreement pending activation. He scrolled down, breath catching as he read. "Upon Marcus Cole's termination, authority of verdict systems shall transfer to his next of kin." He wasn't being hunted. He was being crowned. Marcus spoke again, his voice shaking now. "The system can't die, Darius, but it can evolve. Take control. Fix it from the inside. Become the judge they can't buy." Darius's mind spiraled. All this time, he thought he was exposing corruption, but he was the heir to it. Owen stepped forward. "You have 1 hour to decide. Upload the file, and every name on this list burns. Refuse, and the world burns instead." He looked at her. "You're giving me a choice between hells." She smiled sadly. "Welcome to the justice system." The clock on his laptop ticked down. 05:12:33. He stared at the flash drive in his hand. The real verdict file. He inserted it into the courtroom computer. The screen filled with static. And then his mother's face appeared. A pre-recorded message. She was sitting at the same desk from the old family photo. "Darius, If you ever find this, it means your father made his final choice. But you don't have to make his. The system isn't built to be fixed. It's built to be replaced. Her voice broke. Don't become what you're fighting. Burn it all. Tears streaked Darius's face. He whispered, "I love you, Mom." He hit upload. Sirens wailed in the distance. Red warning lights flashed through every hallway. Owen shouted, "What did you do?" Darius backed away. "I ended it." One by one, the screens in the courthouse went black. The servers collapsed. Every file from verdict systems, gone. Marcus's image glitched, voice fading. You think you've won? Truth without order is chaos. And then silence. The laptop shut down. By sunrise, it was everywhere. The leaks, the files, the corruption. Every official tied to verdict systems was exposed. Owens was arrested. Marcus Cole's disappearance made national headlines. And Darius, the man once mocked in court, once silenced by power, was now a symbol of rebellion. But in the middle of the chaos, a private message pinged on his phone. Unknown sender. "You did it. Now finish it." Attached, a single image, his father's ring. And beneath it, a map. Darius looked up at the morning sun, the first real light he'd seen in days. He'd burned the system down. But deep inside, he could still feel it watching him. Because truth doesn't die when you expose it. It just finds a new host. Note, justice isn't just about what's right. It's about who survives long enough to define it. If you were Darius, would you have destroyed the system, knowing your father was still alive inside it? Or would you have taken control and tried to change it from within? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, subscribe for more gripping, emotional, and powerful stories like this one. Because next time, you'll see what happens when the system fights back.